Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about going to film school or at least film school experience. And this is a very special video because I'm joined by two very great YouTubers. We have Mike from Michael Bartlett's channel,
Hello.
and then we have Stefan or Steve as we call him from Icelandic Psychos channel.
Hello there.
And I'm very happy you want to join my video, guys.
Thanks very much for inviting me. I was kind
Yeah,
of, I
thanks
was
for
kind of,
letting me know. We're very excited.
Great, great to hear. Uh, since Steve, you are the new guest on my channel, so I will start asking you about your film school experience. When was it you were in film school?
It was back in 2014, so I was 22 years old.
Okay, and it was in Reykjavik, in your capital, or
Yeah, absolutely. So I was pursuing acting. So they have like four different categories there, like directing and producing, directing and script, and then there's like, cinematography and editing, and then there's acting. So for me, movies were, and acting were just like a very big thing back then. I wasn't as much into the other things as I am now. Um, but it was a very weird experience. I have to I have to admit, as I know that it was for both of you guys. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really fit in. I guess that's kind of the
mm,
problem. I was like I said, I was 22 years old, and I was big in the gym at the time. And there were just these people like eating their like microwave hamburgers and drinking alcohol on the weekends, and I was not the cool kid. So, um, and I don't know, it was a very weird experience being there, and like the teachers were very much different from what I had, was used to in high school. One of them just like sat down with me on the computer and was like, "Hey, who's that on your computer?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my girlfriend." Like that was my girlfriend from the time. And he was like, "Ah, my girlfriend would never let me take pictures of her like that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. So you can help him with the editing thing, or I." He was just like, "Ah, you seem to have it very well in hand, man." And I was like, "Yeah, but I have a problem with this." I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I, I don't know. I dropped out. I felt like I was being sort of in the group, in the acting group, it felt like I was like the odd man out there, so I just like I dropped out. So I don't know. Yeah,
so it was mainly acting.
yeah, I was in acting. Yeah, so we're doing acting, and then there was like a project at the end of the semester when you work with a group of people, and you're like the main actor, and then the other one is doing the editing. That's in the editing category. So I mean, it all sounds good, and but there's one thing also. I was going to go to film school again a couple years ago. I
Mm.
had resigned my job. I was teaching another person to do my job, and everything was ready. But no, the thing that wasn't ready was the school loan. So I was calling them up and saying, "Hey, it seems like my application hasn't gone through," and they were like, "Yeah, you can't get a school loan for this school anymore." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Because the school went bankrupt and they didn't tell me. So I had already resigned my job, which I just had to quit, and no school and nothing. So that was like a great time in my life.
right.
Okay, that sounds interesting in a bad way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. So your dreams was crushed.
It was, yeah. I was gonna go to editing, and I felt so much like alive to, just go away from these sales jobs and finally go into just, into editing and pursuing, some movie career, hopefully, But it's a hard business though.
Yeah.
Sure. And Mike, you was back in the 90s. You were studying, right?
It was about like late 90s. I went to film school, and it was a film school right in the middle of London. It was at Tottenham
Mm.
Court Road, and it was partly set up by the Pythons, by Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones. And it was a bit different to Steve because I went on a crash course. It was 5 weeks, like really intensive, and you were taught by industry professionals I never heard of any of them, but they were all people who were supposed to be experts in what they were doing, you know. And they taught you everything. And then at the end, what you were supposed to do is you each worked on each other's film. So a bit like Steve said that, you know, you wrote and directed with your partner, and everyone else did the cinematography and the editing, and then you would do the cinematography on their film, or you do the editing on their, you know what I mean? So it was like 5 weeks, really intensive. And what I realized is I was not cut out for filmmaking. It put me off for life. Um, you know, it's similar to what Steve was saying, that what I found the most depressing thing about it was the attitude of the teachers. I thought that because these people made movies, they'd want to get you into movies. You know, they want to sort of inspire you. And in fact, it was the exact opposite. They were like, "Oh, don't have any ideals, don't have any dreams. You know, don't get ideas above your station. Just do what you're told." And that really got me down. I thought, well, I'd rather just watch films than if it's going to be like that. You know, that was my experience.
Okay, but it's something like the school is closed now. You have told me before, isn't it
Yeah.
right?
They've even knocked down the buildings. It's completely gone. In fact, I don't know anyone who remembers it. I'm feeling like I've dreamed it. It was like some kind of surreal David Lynch nightmare. But yeah,
Oh dear, oh dear. So it's not good to go to film school, apparently.
I don't think so. I think it puts you off. But also,
Sure,
like, you know, when I went, it was a long time ago, I'll admit. But in those days, you did have to get into film. But now, like, you can go on your phone, you can film pretty decent imagery on your phone, you can edit yourself online, like we do. And you don't have to go to film school anymore, I don't think. That's the advice I'd give to people watching this, is just make it yourself and learn by mistakes.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I agree.
totally. Yeah.
My experience was it was back in the COVID days in
Ah,
2020 and 2021. It wasn't a film school itself, but it was like a school where you could exercise in filmmaking, and that could give you like a proper opportunity to go to a film school or to the film business afterwards. So it was like a 3 year education, kind of like. But after 1 year, I stopped because one thing, COVID. So many of the days we were going to make films or do something, it was actually here on Zoom. We just and since it wasn't like my fellow students, they weren't bad people or anything, but I just never really felt connected to them. So when you were on Zoom, it was just awkward. I was always just sitting there and thinking, yeah.
Yeah,
and and
exactly.
and
Time to life, yeah.
but I had the same experience with the teachers because it was also real film people, but it was like a producer and a script writer who was managing the school. I won't say they were necessary. They were kind to me in that sense that they liked what I did, but they never really supported me when I had problems.
mm,
For example, there was some student on the school who has really big mentally problems, and I mean really big mentally problems. I felt I had to help them. So I tried to talk to the teachers about it. And say, I don't know if you have to think a bit about these people because I can't. But they were never really helping me
yeah.
before it was too late.
But you both of you made films eventually, didn't you? You did actually come out of the course having made a movie. Because I've seen
Well,
the,
there's one, yeah, the one short film that you saw. Yeah.
yeah. And you did as well, didn't you, Nikolai?
No, actually, the one I made was actually before. It was one I made so I could get into the the,
Oh, I
the, the
see.
school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like I do think you learn something going to film school. It's not like I would say it's totally bad, but you can say it's about you have to work for it.
Yeah.
One thing I just realized that I didn't mention is that I did three film courses in, I guess you would say high school. I guess you would call that in Icelandic, but when I was like 18, 19, 20 though, with a great guy. and that was a much better experience than film school ever was. And I learned much more, with him. And he was like very encouraging and wanted me to continue like with the first course. He was like, come back to another course. I had a great time working with you, and we did a couple of short films, in that courses. And we also did like a sitcom. So it was played out in the school like hall, and they would record it. So yeah, those three courses were a great experience for me back in the days.
So it was part of your school education on high school. You should you had to go to exam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I had the same also back then. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. One question, Nick. How old are you?
26.
26. Okay. So you were then around, yeah, in your 20s as well, when like early 20s, yeah, when you went to film
Yeah,
school as well. Yeah.
I was 20 when I started and 21 when I left. Then I was depressed.
Yeah. No, but the same experience for me, because the film school in Iceland, it costs a lot of money. So I spent a lot of money for basically nothing, but I didn't really feel like, I didn't really fit in there. So it was like, yeah, it was a difficult time. Yeah.
But how many were on the school you went to in Reykjavik in Iceland?
So I think we were nine people in my class, the acting class. So I guess there were around approximately maybe six people in each class. And so they're like a couple of years, and you would only graduate with like a diploma. And that school was always promising that you could get like a BA degree. It was like that was like a process that's going on, but it hasn't been, it hasn't evolved to that yet. So.
Okay. And Mike, when you were in those 5 week, what was it, 5 weeks
Five
course?
weeks, yeah.
How many students were there?
There's about 30 actually.
Okay.
And I was thinking about what you guys were saying about what Steve was saying, that I felt that so many of the people I was with, they felt like sort of producers. They didn't feel like creative people, they didn't feel like writers or directors or people who had dreams. It was like they seemed really ambitious to get into the industry of film. And I felt out of place. I felt totally out of place.
I couldn't have said it better. That's how I feel, because I've not, in my entire life, I've not been good with sort of like, how do I say, like pretending to be friends with people and stuff like that. So yeah, I didn't really fit in there. So
Yeah, I felt the same way.
yeah.
Was there anything positive about your experience? If you had to pick one thing.
Yeah, for sure. It evolved my love for film, because there was a special course that was called film history, and history was also one of my best courses in school. So it just really got me into wanting to delve more into films that I hadn't seen, because I was always watching the films that I loved over and over again. Yeah. So it was like we were sitting in a cinema at the end of the week on Friday. And I was really, really much into that. Almost like dressed up and was like really focused and just in talking at the end of the film with people. So that really piqued my interest in cinema. So I have to hand it to that.
Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah. And what about you, Mike?
I wish I could come up with something positive. I really do. I'm racking my brains. I think in some ways it was a negative good thing, in that I realized I didn't really want to be in that world of filmmaking. I wanted to be like more about critical or academic ideas about film. So I went and did a film degree, which I enjoyed. So in a way, it sort of taught me that's what I need to do. So a similar kind of thing, really.
And that was on a university?
Yeah, that was in London, in University in London, which was actually based in the first ever cinema in England. But anyway,
The first cinema. Cool.
yeah, it was quite cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then how long was that course, or a year? Was it a year
I
or
did it over about 5 years because I was
five
doing it
years?
part time while I was working. Yeah,
All right. But you also studied literature, right?
yeah, yeah.
Ah, all right.
Was there anything positive for you from film studies?
I think I learned something actually about documentary filmmaking,
All right.
because we actually had a course about documentary filmmaking, which I managed to do something nice with, which I don't think I would have had if I didn't went there. So I think I learned most about working on films by doing documentary work, because what I learned there is like you can film all kinds of stuff and actually in the editing make something even though there wasn't particularly a narrative.
Yeah.
And that I thought was an interesting experience, because in some ways you also do it here on YouTube, because when you start recording, I'm not, particularly me, I never know in which direction it goes. So I try to, how should I say, save it in the editing.
Same here.
Absolutely. I totally relate to that. I mean, even just when I was doing these short films or sketches or something with my friends back when I was 14, I remember I learned something important in editing. There was this scene that, wasn't supposed to have an awkward silence, but I just put it in there. And it just added so much to the scene, made it so funny and just, yeah, yeah. So awesome.
Do you know what I think is that I don't think you should be taught by industry professionals. I think you should be taught by teachers. And they might not necessarily be filmmakers, but they know how to teach people and they know how to interact with people. That's what I took from it. I wish that, like you said, your college professor at high school was much better because he's a
Yeah.
teacher. Whereas if you're being taught by some cameraman who's really cynical from some British movie, it's not going to work. That's what I feel.
Exactly, yeah. No, I mean, I definitely learned back then when I was going to pursue acting that the industry was much more difficult than I had, originally perceived. So, but of course, then later I wanted to pursue something else, but it didn't work. So I'm not sure it's going to happen for me. But yeah, at least I'm on YouTube, so that's that.
That's great. Yeah. So then I have a question for both of you here. Is like, if you could make a film one day, if you were asked to, would you do it? Would you want to make a film if you could?
Yeah, I mean, without question, no doubt. Yeah.
Cool. Also, you, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to make like a little short ghost story about half an hour long and a period one set in the past. Not too expensive, just two people in it or something, and a haunted room or something. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I think you do great with that for sure. Yeah. I mean, I could participate, I could act.
You guys could be the two guys in the haunted room. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
no
do it.
doubt.
But I think it's actually interesting, because if I would also only make a short film, I don't think I would ever want to make a full-length feature, because I think it would be too difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like for me, it's just so fun putting things together, like putting the music under and just like when I go editing, with things that are ready, I can just be, zoomed in like for 5 hours and forget to eat and stuff.
Sure. But in terms of the acting work you have done, was it like you have to do it both on stage, or was it also like filming the acting part back when you were in school?
That's a great question actually, because the fact of the matter is I did graduate from theater acting when I was 19, and yeah, totally forgot to mention about that because that was one of the greatest times in my life, like ever. So I mean that of course was like a reason for me to pursue something more. But I just felt so much different in film school. Things were so much like were very stiff. Like when we're doing our like short film at the end of the semester. I was working with the person that was on the camera. I mean, she was always like, you can't be moving from here to here like this, and it made me so much more stiffer because she was so stressed. If I made like a certain step, to the right that I wasn't supposed to make or something like that, it was very very difficult. And she was like kind of, a little bit like grumpy and hard to work with, and it was very much a different experience than in the theater when everything is much more like alive and your body is like moving and everything is just yeah.
I could imagine that. I would imagine the space is needed when you are having when you have to do the theater things. You can do all types of crazy things. And but how was the you were direct you had directors directing you back then when the theater?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely, absolutely. But they were all just terrific people to work with. Yeah, no doubt. No question of that.
Is there a lot of theatre work in Reykjavik? Is there?
Yeah, well, we have two big theaters that are, still working. So I mean, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah, yeah, very cool. Sorry.
if you get a job in those theatres, tell us and we'll come over and watch. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I guess that's, one of those things in life that, just kind of like flew by. But yeah, I would have liked to have done that more. Yeah. The film Birdman, have you guys seen that one?
No, I haven't seen it. I know which
I
one you
have,
mean.
yeah.
Nick, you've seen it?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I felt like the atmosphere in that film sort of reminded me of how it was to be in a theater, like backstage and acting and such. So yeah.
That's also, if I remember correctly, it's taking place in a theater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. I could imagine that. So perhaps you would more rather want to become an actor if you could.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that was my dream, yeah. So, but the film school thing, it just took that away. So, because I did come out of that experience a bit depressed, and people around me were like, "Are you sure you're just completely done with it?" So, I mean, yeah, but we'll see.
But Mike, you're a great actor too.
Am I?
Yeah, you should be a voice actor or something. Like you have some
Yeah.
amazing words sometimes.
Well, I can tell you, I've put myself up to be an audiobook reader on Amazon, but
You have.
I've put some little samples there, but no one's taken me up on it yet. But oh well,
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think you have great voice. Also, when you have done your ghost stories
yeah.
series.
I like reading the ghost stories. Actually, I get a kick out of that. It's quite enjoyable. It's a little Christmas routine I have.
What is your, let's just start with you, Mike. What is your favorite video that you've ever made?
I did this really pompous video, right, years and years ago. It was the Sight and Sound had just released their best films list of all time, and I was really annoyed with it. So I did this video about why it's come out that way, and it was called A History of Taste.
I
And
remember that. Yeah.
no one's watched it, but that's probably, I think, the best video I've ever done.
Okay, I'm not sure if I've seen that. I gotta look that up. History. So it's called History of Taste.
Yeah, it goes on for half an hour and it's very boring and it's just me talking to camera, but I just love it. It's my favorite.
Okay, awesome. So what about you, Nick?
Uh, I have done some. I don't know if you have seen them, Steve, but Mike knows them. I've done some poetry videos, and one of them I think is quite nice, even though it's more personal thing. That's why I think it means more to me.
Is that the one with
Uh,
the writing on the tree? That not that one.
because that was my first one.
Yeah.
But usually my film stuff I don't really like afterwards.
I
So
like the ones you do about sort of classic cinemas, like Olivia de Havilland movies. I can feel your passion for them and your love of them. And I think that's my favorite videos of yours with the film ones.
okay, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. And what about you, Steve?
Yeah, okay, so I do watch my videos. I mean, like I guess you could say a lot because I watch them like when I post them, and then I would like watch them again later. And sometimes my feelings change. Like, oh, okay, this video is actually much better than I I initially thought. Like I'm really fond of my Stanley Kubrick ranking video. I felt like I was really sort of just I was just speaking to the camera, speaking my thoughts, and I just think they like came out pretty good. Um, and I guess I like those kind of style of videos where like I did that. I did like my top 90s videos. I like some of my older stuff, like the Roger Moore, Bond, like performance ranking, the Christopher Lee one. But I just think that maybe like my latest video might be my most favorite because I'm excited to do another video in that sort of realm, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I thought that one was fantastic.
Yeah,
I did like the Bond video, but I thought that one was your best one. I thought it was great.
yeah. I also think the most impressive video you did, Steve, was the Hitchcock one. But I also really much like your Kubrick video, and I also like your Kubrick video, Mike, you did back in the days.
Yeah, I feel I should do that again, Kubrick. I didn't do him justice, but yeah, Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually watched that video, many times, and I remember that you said like you don't always like Kubrick because he's like, watching us from above, like
Yeah.
judging us.
Well,
Yeah,
he's a miserable git, isn't he? I mean, you don't go to
yeah,
Kubrick to be cheered up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.